So I think one of the reasons behind talking about short form video and TikTok, Dre is our expert in that particular area, is because short form video has been coming up a lot in the social media about the way it's causing consumers to discover food. It's almost become the new format for advertising for many people. So I thought it would be fun to have someone like Dre Peo come in and share with us some of his secrets and his story behind becoming a content creator and a digital strategist right here in Ontario, though he's currently living in Spain. And he's built a community of well over 200,000 followers and people who can tune in to learn about Dre and the food tips that he has. But he does have his own production company, which is a full service media agency that does manage social media content. And so he does work with brands like KFC, to name a few, Beaver Tails, McDonald's, Subway, Tabasco Canada, and Sabra, and many others. And he kind of is now, and you will see in some of the slides, giving you some great examples of someone that's going over to Spain, which is very underdeveloped relative to North America in this area. And of course, we've all watched over the last couple of years, is it on or is it off with TikTok? So Dre will be presenting some of the learnings after going through all of those different things. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. We've got tons of bakery examples to share with you, and then some that are food related, in which you can naturally transfer into a baking situation. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dre. The floor is all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to speaking with everyone. Trisha, keep me on track. If there's things that come up that you think everyone would have a question about, feel free to stop me. For me today, my goal is to hopefully get rid of any of the fear or confusion that often comes with social media. By the end of this conversation, my goal is to have everybody understanding the current state of social media because it does change so often, help you understand what you can do to create content with little to no budget. And then, of course, the most important for a lot of you is how to translate that online success into real world conversions. And what's important to me is to hopefully get rid of this idea that you need to be some famous personality or have this giant personality or be on your phone all the time in order to create content and really show you that this is quite practical if you understand the format and plan accordingly. Something I love to remind people is that social media is like working out. Often, new clients that I'm working with or people who are looking for advice on social media, they'll say, how long do I have to wait? And I always relate it to working out and someone who says, hey, I want to get a six pack, I want to get in shape. And what comes with that is time and consistency and patience. And the same way you can give someone a workout program that might work for them, because everyone's body's different, it won't react exactly the same for another person, even if they're doing the same workout, same meal plan. And I like to equate that to social media. Everyone's business is different. Take bits and pieces from some of the best performers, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to test your brand and see what works when you're posting. And through those tests, we'll understand what's going to perform best for you. Trisha, is there a question?
So they don't see the full screen on the presentation.
Can we see a full screen on the presentation? Do you want to do full presentation mode? I do like to keep my slides on the side only because I tend to jump ahead when there are questions or if something does come to mind. What do you think, Trisha?
Try full screen and see if it works a little better.
Okay, let's do it.
Thank you for that suggestion.
Full screen. Would I go into play? Will this do it? Can you guys see that on full screen? Oh, technical difficulties here. I'm not sure. Would it be through Zoom, Trisha, that I would be clicking something, or do I just go into full? play
Um,
mode
you
on
would go
Keynote.
on yours, yes. And the moderator rules. If Dre likes to see his slides, that's great. Go for it. Thank you.
View. You'd think I'd have this figured out. How does when I do this, Trisha, does that help?
I
Have
don't
I done
see.
anything?
Um,
Is this full screen mode?
just go with your format that you were using.
Okay.
Perfect.
No,
I
that was,
promise I promise that the value will be there. I apologize for the screens on the side, but let's see. Let's get back on track. All right. So Trisha gave me a great introduction. Just to give you guys a bit of background, I think something that's valuable to note is I've had my social media agency for just over 10 years now. So I've really seen how things have evolved on the social media landscape, especially once TikTok was introduced. I feel like that was where we saw this big transition into vertical video, which we're going to talk a lot about. Another thing I want to note is I was creating content in the food space. I like to say I was one of the first people reviewing food on TikTok. I had an account right when we transitioned from Musically to TikTok. If you're not familiar, TikTok used to be called Musically, and then it was bought by another company and became TikTok. So right there and then is when I was like, hey, I'm gonna start reviewing snacks and see what happens on this app that not that many people have heard of. And so I've really seen how much the platform has evolved from this place where people were doing a lot of lip syncing and dancing to a place where brands are building their businesses, and a lot of eyes are in these places. So that's something we're going to touch upon. And then in order to support kind of your businesses in terms of how you can translate it into real foot traffic, I want to note that I did a transition into my style of content. And hopefully that as we go along this, you'll see that once you have attention on your platform, your business can evolve. Right now, you might be focusing on particular items. Maybe you're just a bakery right now and you're like, hey, eventually we're going to transition into a side restaurant on the side as well as doing the baking. And so once I decided that, hey, I love Canada, but I think I want to spend a lot of time in Spain, I thought, why don't I evolve my content as well? And so instead of just reviewing foods and snacks from Canada and the US, I thought, I love cooking. I love Spanish cuisine. Why don't I start experimenting? And that's what kind of led to me experimenting with different Spanish dishes, which led to some of the press that you see in front of you. And eventually, through the need to experiment and see, hey, I work with a lot of clients in the food space. A lot of questions I do get is like, hey, Dre, you do really great online, but would this really translate into sales? And so for myself, I wanted to test this out firsthand. So I had a few dishes that had went viral, and I thought, why don't I participate in the biggest food pop-up in the region? I'm in the region of Murcia in the southeast coast of Spain, and there was a big food festival in the region, and I thought, I'm going to sell some of my dishes. And the response was incredible. And through the promotion of online assets exclusively, we sold out some of our biggest dishes. And I really didn't know what to expect. And so not only did we get a great turnout, what was meant to kind of just be an experiment also led to making some good money. And so that was a fun surprise. And more than anything for me was great proof that, hey, curiosity, limited edition style content creation that can relate to a product that can be sold is a great way that we can build attention and eventually sell a product. So we'll kind of go through this breakdown and you'll understand what I did kind of step by step to get there. But I wanted to preface this so you knew, hey, who's this guy in front of me and why should we listen to him? So the rise of vertical video. When TikTok came on the scene, there was a big shift on social media. At the time, platforms like Instagram and Facebook, in order to reach a certain audience, you needed a number of followers. If you wanted to reach 1,000 people, you needed to have, at least 1,000 followers. And then as time went on, you're only reaching a percentage of your followers, and it became harder to get some attention organically, and they started to push advertising. Then TikTok came along and switched up the way that content is distributed. So now, led by TikTok and now adopted by Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts, all of these algorithms, when you post a piece of content, they don't just get distributed to your followers. If you notice on social media, there's a For You page or a popular page, and now content is distributed based on what your interests are. And why that's amazing for you is if you're just starting your business on social media, if you have 2 followers, that video can still reach 1,000 people, 100,000 people. You can have a viral moment and still not have many followers. The key here is, can you make an interesting piece of content that entertains people, educates them, and has some sort of cultural relevancy? And those are 3 themes you're going to see coming up quite a lot as I continue my conversation, as those are the 3 topics that all of these platforms favor. And so originally when we were discussing, the whole topic of this conversation, we said, hey, let's chat about TikTok because it's had this up and down in terms of our brands investing in it. Is it worth investing in? Is it going to be banned? And it was important for me to say, hey, vertical video is kind of the way I want to phrase this because vertical video is something you can use across the board on all these platforms. If you have unlimited budget and unlimited time, I would say, yeah, you can tweak all of these videos a little bit differently because the Facebook audience does have a bit of a different mindset than, say, someone on TikTok. But for the majority of us, time is not unlimited and budgets are a little bit limited currently. So because of this, I say, hey, whatever you're creating, there's no negative in posting that across the board. And the algorithms will tell you if your audience is interested or not. Is there anything specific, Trisha, that you want to talk about TikTok in this point?
Um, well, I think the emphasis was on the aspect of that you don't have to be the most popular person. And I think you're going to address it a little bit later, which is reposting the same content.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll get to that a little later. So
Yeah.
everything's good in terms of the TikTok conversation. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I did mention this. I want to reinforce it because so many of my first conversations when I speak with a brand, they say, Dre, I just need more followers. And hey, you want people to follow your content, your pages, of course, because once people follow your pages, those tend to be the people that see your content first. And if they engage, it does help the algorithm to push that content out to more people. But more and more followers are more of a vanity metric because they don't equate to your videos necessarily being seen. So whenever someone says, Dre, I need more followers, I say, if your goal is to reach more people and to get attention for your brand, the followers isn't the #1 metric we want to look at.
And
And
I
we'll
think
talk about, sorry, go ahead.
I could add on to that. Someone recently gave me a LinkedIn metric. I have lots of followers, but when I post, and sometimes twice a day or every day, only 17% of my followers are seeing it. So, and there are times with some of the posts I've had 160,000 views, etc. So the numbers are getting confusing now when you think of it strictly as a follower message.
Absolutely. And that's why also as we make content, we don't just think about, hey, who are competitors? A lot of brands think, oh, well, the bakery down the street, I'm competing with them for attention. The reality is all of this content appears on these popular pages, on the For You page, on TikTok and Instagram. So really, we're competing with anyone who's making content. And that's why we can't be too obsessed with promoting, hey, just sales and promotions. We have to find a way to incorporate education, entertainment, and real value for the people that we want to be eventual customers. So when I speak to a potential new client or someone who's new to social media, they say, where do I get started? I like to think of it as your social media profile is a television station. If you think of a television station, there's multiple segments, multiple TV shows that appear that people can look forward to, and it helps classify what type of station you are. And so that's why I phrase how to get started. So if you're thinking of your business, think of what are 5 different pillars that best represent my business that I want to talk about on a weekly basis.
And so
And
can
then,
you give me some examples of pillars?
yes, absolutely. So if we look at some pillars, that can be comparison content. What does your brand do different? Ingredients in the baking space, for example, is a great one. Are they local ingredients? Do you only use gluten-free? Why do you do that? And how can you showcase this in a fun, is it a shocking way, an exciting way? Obviously, we don't want to just be presenting our videos like we use this ingredient. We want to find interesting, unique ways to do so. And the best way to do that is inspiration. And I'll give you some profiles to look at a little later in the presentation, but don't feel like you need to reinvent the wheel. People who are successful on social media in your particular niche already are on these platforms. Research, take inspiration, and then make it your own, add your own spin to it. But don't feel like you have to do something absolutely fresh that no one's ever done before just right out of the gate. I think adding your own uniqueness to something that's worked is the best way to get started. Another one is being the voice of your industry. Don't think, hey, I'm a bakery. I can only talk about how I bake things. What are people talking about in the baking industry? Is there something in the news that you want to reference? Is there something related to particular ingredients? Is there a shortage of an ingredient that you're battling? Showcase your story through your content and try and be an authority in the overall space, not just thinking of what am I selling today and what's new on the menu. Your brand story. How did you start your business? What inspired it? What struggles did you go through? Is there inspiration behind particular things that you sell? Is there a baked good item that's inspired by a particular customer or by your grandfather? Tell that story. And if you don't have those things, maybe that's something you add. Okay, maybe we don't have a lot of stories around what we're doing or what we're baking. Maybe we change up our menu to incorporate some of these things. And then number four is fun and unrelated content. This is sometimes you see on your profile that there's trending sounds appearing. There's certain sounds that multiple people are using in order to tell their story that are related to culturally relevant things happening. I'm trying to describe what a trending sound is if you're not familiar with it. So often it'll be a new movie that just came out, a 12-second clip where they're getting that audio from the movie and everyone's using that audio to tell some sort of story related to their business. So finding ways to have fun and not feel like we need to sell our product in every single piece of content that we do. So these are great places to start in terms of, hey, what are my brand pillars? And what I would say is, here's four. Try and do this every week. Every week, can we tell this story? One video about comparison, one about being the voice of our industry, etc. And then as we're creating this content, remembering that those first 2 to 3 seconds is how we capture people's attention. Remember that because these videos are first appearing on the For You page to people that likely have never heard of you, if you begin with, hi, my name is, they've already swiped away, they don't know what the video is about, and they're moving on. And unfortunately, it is really that quick in terms of people's attention span. And different demographics have different attention spans, but in general, we want to focus on how can we make that first 2 or 3 seconds of a video enticing? Does it have a shock element to it? Does it make people feel like, hey, you're about to solve a problem for them or address something that's currently trending in the world? But remember that we don't need to say, hi, my name is, we don't need to say, here's where I'm from. That can come later. And also, you don't need to say it at all most of the time, because if you do create a piece of content that has value to people, they'll click on your profile. They'll say, oh, who is this? And also, if they're engaging with your profile, engaging with your video, as in liking it or commenting or sharing it, the algorithms will take your profile, and when you post again, they'll distribute your content to that same person, even if they're not following you. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. We want to get someone to engage with our videos, watch the videos to the end, and that's how the algorithm is ranking, hey, does someone like this video? The following comes later. And so when we think of what can we do in those first 2 to 3 seconds, a visual hook is fun. So this is a video I did reviewing a snack with another influencer, and it was very spicy. So the visual hook here is me very dramatically pouring milk on my lips because it was very spicy. So just to show you, can you do something in that first 2 seconds to get people's attention? But that's the main thing I want to show you. For time's sake, I want to kind of not showcase all of these videos except the important part. So that's one thing. What can you do physically to capture people's attention? And then there's a speaking hook. So I'm not sure if this audio is coming through on your end. Trisha, are you getting these video audios?
Um, Click on it. Let's see. No.
No. Okay, so to summarize what's going on in this video, the first thing that's being said is stop drinking pre-workouts that are loaded with caffeine and refined sugars. And what's important about that and what you can learn from it and how you can apply it to your particular brand is making an absolute statement gets people's attention. Try not to live in the middle with your content. Make a decision. We are on this side of the fence or we're on that side of the fence. And what that does is it starts conversations. If you say, hey, we love sugar, we love things that are sweet, it doesn't leave you in the middle of like, yeah, we like everything. We're trying to satisfy the world. What we're trying to do is generate conversation. And of course, it needs to be genuine and authentic. I'm not saying to do something or say something about your brand that isn't true, but don't feel like you have to try and satisfy the entire world with all of your videos. It's okay to say, hey, we represent this. We love this more than this. And try and use that in your first second to try to generate some sort of a conversation or talking point. And the second important aspect when you're thinking about your brand pillars and what you can present on a weekly basis is cultural relevancy. I always say, besides making videos, our agency, we are studying pop culture more than anything. And that is with regards to your demographic, what shows are they watching? What music are they listening to? What is something that is a concern for them in the news, in the world? Do they care about the environment? And how can we take these items and incorporate them into our content? Essentially, it's a language, pop culture. When people see that you like a particular song or you're a fan of a particular sports team, you're connecting with them without having to say anything in a way, because you're saying, hey, we're both lovers of this, or the opposite, we both don't love this so much. And so cultural relevancy in this example here, for example, it's a particular drink about Super Mario. And this was when the Super Mario movie came out. So thinking about something currently that has been in the news, for example, Drake, if you're familiar with Drake, Drake just released 3 albums on the same day. And regardless of whatever demographic you fall in, I'm sure somewhere along the lines you saw how big this was, especially if you're in the Toronto area, because Drake is from Toronto and it was a really big thing when this happened. And
They lit
so,
up the CN Tower for
yeah,
Drake.
they lit up the CN Tower. There was fireworks. There was a whole international thing in terms of social media. Um, so if you took a look at some of the brands capitalizing on this, you'll see that they said, okay, Drake has this new album. How quickly can we discuss Drake and incorporate into our content? So I'm going to jump to B here. And this is a great segue into translating video success into foot traffic. Because what ends up happening is your videos are being seen by, let's say, thousands of people. Let's say you have this one video that's done really well, and you're like, okay, now how can we get people to come in the door? If you take a look at this brand, you might be familiar with it. They are a donut company. I believe they're originally from Montreal. Now they're expanding across Canada. And they created a video trying to get donuts to Drake. So they saw, hey, Drake's got this new album. They created a limited edition Drake donut. They put his face on it. And they said, hey, we're going to go to Toronto. We're going to go to Drake's house and see if we can get these to him. So even if you're not getting audio, you could see the concept. They've created these limited edition donuts, his face on them. They also did sell them for a limited time to create some sort of urgency. But then they went outside of his door, spoke to his security and said, hey, we have these donuts for Drake. So what they're showcasing, if you can't hear the audio, is they're failing. As you can imagine, getting into Drake's house with some baked goods is not the easiest task. And ultimately, they never got the donuts to Drake. But this video went so viral, generated so much attention, both for, hey, there's this Drake donut, and the fact that, wow, this brand was so ambitious. They went to Toronto from Montreal to try and get something in the hands of Drake. But more than anything, it's recognizing that when something is culturally relevant, the algorithms identify that and they start to push it more organically. And whenever I'm using the word organically, it simply means videos are being seen by people without any paid advertisement. So during that week where that release happened, anything related to Drake was getting above average views from people across Instagram, TikTok, all of the platforms. So that's one way thinking, hey, when some news is relevant, how can I jump on that and incorporate that into my bakery, into my content, into a limited edition release that we create?
And we had some fun on this discussion because then there's the legal implications. You might talk to the lawyer at your firm and say, can I do this? There are some fun things. There has been a story of a young girl that had a spice mix in Ottawa, and she used to sell at farmers markets, and she called it Spice Girls or whatever, something, but she spelt it differently. She actually got more notoriety when the Spice Girls actually sent her a cease and desist letter, and then she was all over Instagram around the Spice Girls wanted her not to sell her spice mix. So she is rebranding, but every lawyer in Toronto, myself included, for my husband's corporate firm, we did some posts around, yes, you got to check with your lawyer on things. But I'm sure this isn't one that he's going to get a cease and desist letter. So there's always a little bit of risk around something like that.
Yeah, I'll be sure not to give any legal advice as I'm doing this, but I will say, depending on the size of your business, obviously, if this was a CPG conversation and you wanted to put this in stores, it would be completely different. If you wanted to put Drake's face on something, but in terms of bakeries and small limited edition runs, this isn't the first brand I've seen do something like this. So from a non-legal perspective, I believe that you shouldn't have too much trouble if you were doing something similar to this donut design. Jumping to A, we did B first. We're going to jump to A. Another way you can test out how to translate the video success into foot traffic is number one, testing various concepts online and then choosing the best performing video to run a limited edition launch. But please don't skip out on just how much testing is necessary. So something that I've become notorious online for is the paella. If you're not familiar with it, it's a very famous Spanish rice dish that in Spain is pretty sacred in terms of the recipe. They've always said like it needs to have particular ingredients, and if you stray from that, it's not a real paella. And so as a content creator, as someone who loves creating attention online, I thought, you know what, people haven't really gone really outside the box with the paella, and I'm new in this country. Let me see how creative I can get. And so before we did launch the pop-up tasting that I mentioned earlier in the conversation, I was testing close to 40 different paella recipes. And just because it was 40 recipes, that's multiple video posts per different flavor to really see which one's getting the most attention. And not all of them were successes. A lot of them got posted, got some views, but didn't really get that much attention until I did a video about a chocolate Kit Kat paella. And it really does show you that marketing plays a huge role in this because really the recipe was kind of just like what's the word for it? I was going to say an arroz con leche, rice pudding. It really was just a rice pudding in terms of the flavor and the taste of it. But because I said the word paella, it created this huge controversy. And that was the one that went the most viral. And so I did all this testing and I was like, okay, this is the one people are going to go and want to try. And so that's one of the things that we sold when we were doing this pop-up. And coincidentally was also one of the most successful. But I don't think it was an accident. I really do think that people seeing it online, it having its viral moment, it got some press because of its virality. And that did and I do believe that's what led to that foot traffic. So
And then
Please don't.
can I add the analogy here might be if you're going to do a Saturday farmers market. But Dre, you were very creative in keeping your costs down. Maybe you could share with the listeners how you used the culinary students and really had no costs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, because again, I'm not a restaurant and I was really trying to test out what ways we can get people to taste this. I wanted to keep my cost low. And so I don't consider myself a chef, especially if we had huge lineups. So I wanted to hire some, and that could get pricey. So I collaborated with the local culinary school here in the region. And in exchange for me giving them some tips on how they can translate their skills into promoting online, some of the students offered their services to assist me with cooking at this fair. Um, in terms of the fair itself, in order to set up a stand, that was obviously a price associated with that. And in order to keep that cost away, I offered to promote the actual fair itself on social media in exchange for a booth. So really, my only cost was the food itself, the actual ingredients. So yeah, I'm a big fan of getting creative in terms of keeping costs down and putting the time in beforehand before kind of jumping into the actual sales part. And I know that's difficult because a lot of people are like, hey, well, I need to make $1 now today. But if you can put the time in beforehand and properly script, properly prepare content, properly test what's working and not, I think it can lead to much more success when you do officially launch whatever it is the product that you're creating. So now is the now what? Let's say you've done this, you did your brand pillars, you've got a great hook to catch people's attention, and you've had a video or two that's hit above 10,000 views. I'd like to use that as a benchmark. Anything over 10,000 is like, okay, this is something that the algorithm is identifying is an above average video. There's something here. What can we do? The biggest mistake that I find brands make is they say, okay, we had success. What can we do next? Now we have to chase the next thing. We had our success with our viral pizza donuts, for example. What can we do? And they try to think of a new ingredient, a new product. Whereas the real way to maximize that success of that above average success is reposting that content. So there's multiple ways. If you see the 6 here in front of you, this is all using that same concept, the same video footage you used. All we're doing is restructuring. So reposting the viral video at a different day, same caption, same video. Recutting the viral video. So maybe you film a quick new hook or whatever you ended the video with, maybe you begin the video with that and just restructure the video that already did well. You can duet your own video. So if you're not familiar with that, that's adding commentary. There's a function on Instagram and TikTok that basically your video will play in the background and you can add commentary with a green screen and speak on camera about what was happening, what was going through your mind as you were doing whatever is on camera. Video reply to comments from the video that's done well. So if you've hit above 10,000 views, there's surely comments on your video. Reply to those comments. Not only with text, there's a function to reply to a comment with a video. So reply directly to them. The comment appears on screen. And that's another way to engage with your audience. Repost the same video with a new caption. So now we're using that old video, but can we say something different? Is there something you can entice people with in the caption section that's different from your original post? And then reposting that same style of video with a slightly different concept involved. This might require you to film something different, but still kind of keeping the same essence of your video that did well, but incorporating something slightly new that you thought, oh, you know what, we didn't film the behind the scenes while we were doing it. Maybe we'll add 1 or 2 clips to that video. Maybe we'll make it longer instead of the 35 seconds that the original was. And this is an interesting one that I want to show everybody for multiple reasons. But when you take a look, I'll play these quickly and you'll easily identify that it's the same footage being used. But I wanted to use this example because not only did this product go viral using the same footage, but technically the product is something that social media tends to be very strict on. So if you're familiar with the rules and regulations of TikTok and Instagram, anything related to alcohol or cannabis is very difficult to promote. Even though it's all legal in Canada, the advertising laws are quite strict. And so the product that you're seeing in front of you is a device for cannabis. And the way they got around it was they used broccoli instead. It still showcased what the device does, but instead they used broccoli. And so this was a very viral moment on social media not too long ago. And they applied basically the steps that I mentioned earlier, using the same footage. This is their viral moment. They replied to a comment. They remade the same video. So this is basically the same concept, but they just incorporated different cuts of it. And you'll notice you can't hear it now, but they used different sound. They used a little bit different commentary just to make it slightly different. But again, it's still that concept of, wow, they're using broccoli. That's funny. It's going viral. Video replies and then repeating the concept. All this to say that please don't just pass by your video in terms of, hey, we've seen some success. Let's move on to the next thing. It's something that with our clients, we're very passionate about. So I'll jump to this slide here. One of our clients is Good Food for Good. They make ketchups and cooking sauces, barbecue sauces. And with one particular campaign, we saw an above average moment. So it hit closer to that 10,000 realm. And I thought, okay, there's something here. This video is a good video. People are engaging with it, but I can't understand why it's not hitting more people. So we ran it through that same process I mentioned earlier. And I actually reposted the video 4 different times because I was convinced that the video is going to do well because of what people were saying on it. They were surprised. It was related to sugar content, that this is a low sugar, naturally sweetened sauces and ketchups. And so it wasn't until the 4th repost. So again, I didn't do anything different. I just posted it at a different time of day, but I kept the video the same and I kept the caption the same. And it was at that 4th video that we saw our above average moment. So I believe it was 500,000 or close to 1 million of views. And in that 4th time, the first video, it was, let's say 12,000. The second video actually was a little bit lower than that, but still above average, still hovering around that 9, 10,000. And so I just kept trying. And eventually that 4th one did hit. And I'm not saying to just post this. Please don't do that. We were posting things in between because yes, your audience can see, hey, they're just posting the same content. So it was spread out over a period of time where people didn't think we were just posting the same thing over and over again. But all that to say, believe in your content. If you see that people are engaging with it, don't just post it once. And it could be that 4th or 5th time that leads to a viral moment. And then once we have our viral moment, then we can experiment. So I'm always creating concepts first with the idea of how can we capture attention and get people involved in a conversation. And so you'll take a look at this sample video. The audio isn't important. It's 7 seconds, but it hit 1.2 million views on TikTok. And my idea was I was trying to figure out what's going to get people's attention in terms of capturing how much sugar there are in the average condiments and sauces, because that's something that this brand is very passionate about, low sugar. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to use familiar brands. Everyone knows Heinz, everyone knows Chips Ahoy, and I'm going to say, did you realize you're eating this many Chips Ahoy cookies on the average burger when you put this ketchup on your burger? And so we created this video, 7 seconds, just text. And when a video is 7 seconds, it loops over and over again. So right now it stopped for you guys, but if you were on social media, it would keep looping. So you keep seeing this loop of the text. And so it's a lot easier to consume what that text is saying. I know it seems a bit quick when it's here. And that video hit 1.2 million views. And you'll notice there's no branding here. You don't know who the product, what we're promoting. But now I understand what's getting the conversation going. Once I have this information, then I say, okay, this is what's getting people talking. Now we can incorporate the product. We can incorporate the product afterwards. We can do it at different points, but we know that this concept of did you know that the average person puts 3 tablespoons of ketchup on their burger, and that equates to X amount of Chips Ahoy cookies. And so we recreated that video. We used a different creator, but the same concept. And then we incorporated the product. And the results was the exact same views, 1.2 million on YouTube Shorts. And now we have an ad. Now we have 1.2 million people seeing the product. And then this was also used for promotional ads. So they put money into it, and that became a big advertising campaign for us. But it took time, it took testing, and it took us posting a video that I definitely know in the past with some clients, when I show it to them, they're like, Dre, why are we posting Heinz and Chips Ahoy on our profile? We're not in these videos. And it's because we're studying what our audience is responding to. And eventually, if you stick around and you have the patience for it, it does lead to a brand promotion, and it does lead to sales, and it does lead to promoting what it is, the whole point of your business, which is getting sales and promoting your product. What else? As I'm just looking at time, I want to make sure we have time for questions. I do want to jump into 2 accounts that I love in the baking space that I want you all to make note of. Matt James Duffy is awesome. He is a baker himself. He follows a lot of the different things that I've explained here. You'll see his various segments. He's using trending sounds. He's educating you. He's helping you solve problems. He's giving you easy ingredients you can apply to your everyday recipes. Lots of inspiration you can take there. And then Montmorency Bakehouse. What I love about this is their videos go so viral, and they just seem like average people you see on the street. They don't have the craziest personalities. They're just making different things at their bakery. And it's a mom and pop style shop. And you'll notice that they're not fancy. If you take a look at this, I'm sure you're like, yeah, I could do that. I could set up a tripod. I could just showcase what we're doing that day. What helps them stand out from my perspective is their frequency. The amount of posting you post matters. It's that old saying of like, to give a hockey reference, like if you don't shoot the puck, you're not going to score. And the more you shoot, the more chances you have of actually scoring on the net. And it's the same for social media. If you're posting once a week, there's only so many chances that you're going to actually get people to see your content. And so the top creators you will see are posting 2-3 times in a day. And I'm not saying that to scare you or to make you feel like you have to be doing that. I think starting off a couple of weeks is a great way to start, but making you realize that you're not going to oversaturate the market, and that the best creators, the best businesses are posting multiple times in a day.
So
And if you see, as this has
when
been
you
playing, I've been speaking, there's nothing fancy about this. So take a look at this brand as well. Lots of inspiration there, and hopefully gives you some confidence to jump on camera if you're like, hey, I don't have the personality for it. I don't think anyone needs to have any special powers. It's just about being authentic and showcasing what it is that you have to offer.
So Dre, when you started, how many times a day were you posting for you?
I was posting a little bit crazy. So I was sometimes posting 8 or 9 times in a day. But I will say I did grow 100,000 followers in my first year of doing that. I got obsessed, and I do think the more people I speak to, whether it's businesses or creators, they all had that moment where they said, I'm posting at least once a day for 6 months. I think that's the most common one I hear. And I think that's the equivalent of, when you go to the gym and after a couple months, you start to see yourself in the mirror and you're like, okay, I want to keep doing this. If you do that for 6 months on social media, I feel like you'll have that same feeling. You'll start to see people engaging, but you need to follow at least some of the things I'm discussing here, because some people post and they're just not good videos. And you can post 5 times a day, and if they're bad videos, they're not going to get engagement. So keep that in mind.
So I have 2 questions. And thank you for this one. Do you need to have someone full-time on staff doing the creation, production, editing, tracking? As a small firm, I don't know that's accessible. And the second part of that question that I'm adding is, so you have some big clients, they may have bigger budgets than this smaller firm. what is the typical posting rate? Is it once a day, like you're just suggesting? And maybe you can answer our Darcy's question first.
For sure. So in terms of the posting, sorry, can you
He
repeat
was asking, do I need a full-time person to do this?
yes,
I
yes,
can't
yes.
afford, $40,000 a year for a content
Yes.
creator.
So I will say, when I first started out, when I was doing 8 a day, it was just me and my phone. You need a tripod, which on Amazon is very affordable. I'd encourage you to get some sort of a microphone if you're doing speaking content. And if you're doing recipes or something related to baking, you'll probably speak. But there's some affordable microphones out there. $100 is something that'll do more than enough for you. And if you don't want to get lights, you don't need to. I just suggest have film yourself in front of a window so that there's some natural light so you could see yourself somewhat clearly. Going outside and filming, if you live somewhere that isn't too cold, is always a good hack if there's some natural sunlight to avoid having to buy lights. But really, it's more the concepts than the fanciness of the videos. If you want to really laugh, scroll way down to my old content and you're going to be like, this has 500,000 views. I look at that now and I'm like, wow, I'm embarrassed because the quality of it is horrible. But it's the value that I was giving. I was talking about new snack releases or I was reviewing something that just got released. And there's an audience for that. People saw value in it. So I think if you think, hey, how can I show people that they can make a sourdough bread a lot easier than they think? If you're holding your phone as a selfie, but you can do it in 20 seconds or 30 seconds and make it easy to understand, that video, no doubt to me, is going to get attention, whether you have a professional camera or not. In fact, in my early days, when I launched my agency, we bought all this equipment thinking we wanted to be fancy. And then we noticed the videos we posted with phones were doing better. And so we scaled back that content because, and I think now more than ever with AI, the more something looks organic and authentic, the better it performs. So I would almost advise if you're starting out to not buy fancy equipment. Um, does
But
that answer your question?
what about the editing and the all of that? Is it all fairly doable for one person? And how many? Is
Yes,
that going
that's a
to
great.
take Trisha an hour and a half each day, or
So downloading CapCut, I would say CapCut is the most user-friendly editing app. It is free. There's a paid version. I think it's like $7 or $10 a month. It's very affordable. And you could do everything on your smartphone. There is a desktop version if you prefer to use your desktop as well. And it's something you can learn. You're going to be confused at the beginning. YouTube is free. People are going to try and sell you courses. YouTube has everything you need. Search all of your questions, and videos will come up on how to use these things. CapCut is one of the most, I'd say, industry standard for content creators just starting out. So there's lots of people showing you how to use it. And be okay to be bad, I think. You're going to make bad videos if you've never made one. Your first one is not going to go viral. Hey, it could, but don't expect that. I think is get in the habit of doing reps. The same way your first 10 push-ups are going to be tough, do them more often, and you're going to get better at it.
so? Caitlin wants to know the best length for a video. Um,
So I'll preface this by saying the same thing about the working out, how it's different for everybody. I would test out your 12-second videos tend to be your trending sound. You'll put like small text on the screen and have a looping sound. Take a look for some of those on your For You page, save those. 30 seconds explainer video is a great one. So if you have some tip or hack or ingredient explanation, 30 seconds is a great place to start. And then I throw a 1 minute up and see how it performs.
so
But
Caitlin said though it's taking hours to edit a 1 minute video.
and you know what? If that's her situation, I think it's okay to step back and be like, I only have time to post a 20-second video. If it has value and you're saying that I can film multiple of these a week and I'm more comfortable doing that, I'd rather you post a handful of 20-second videos instead of 1 minute and also hate your life the whole time you're doing it. Because if you don't enjoy it in some way or look forward to something, you'll only do it for a little bit and then you'll stop. So finding what's better for you is also important.
So she says, thank you, that makes sense. So what about you have an agency, you've got clients. you're not posting 8 times a day for good foods or whatever. What's kind of the regular rhythm?
So I will say Good Food for Good, we've been with them for over 6 years and they're still posting 7 times a week. They're posting every day,
But once a day. Yeah. Okay.
once a day. But I have clients who are posting 4 times a week. I'd say that's our minimum. We don't work with anyone who wants to do less than that.
Okay.
For if you're starting out and you're like, okay, I'm going to really take this seriously. If you start at 4 and you give me 4 videos that are really valuable for your audience, I think it's a great place to start.
Okay. Good.
Do we have any other questions? I'm just looking through the chat here. I guess I'll finish up by my last point. If you don't
Okay.
have time, sorry, is there a question?
Darcy had one more, which was what are tagging best practices these days?
So let's go with hashtags first. And this is confirmed by, if you don't follow Adam Masseri on Instagram, I believe he's the CEO is this official title of Instagram. And he always posts like tips for social media and doing well on Instagram. And he did officially confirm that hashtags almost mean nothing. That if you don't put hashtags, it's not going to impact your video in any way. It kind of originally was meant to act as an AI. So if you had specific hashtags, it knew to distribute that content to people who liked those things. But now with how advanced AI is, it knows where to distribute based on the words you say, the images in the video. So hashtags are not super important. So I wouldn't put too much time on obsessing over hashtags. Best practice, I like to say, take a look at some of your best favorite brands and use those as inspirations to kind of join those conversations. But I wouldn't put too much time into thinking about that. In terms of tagging people, only tag people in your posts if you are using them as inspiration. So let's say I saw a post on Trisha on her TikTok and I was like, oh, this really inspired me to make my video. I'd give her a little shout out, tag her in the caption, but please don't tag like 30 businesses because you hope that they're going to like your photo or something like that. That's nobody likes to be spammed. So I'd avoid that.
Good.
The last thing I'm going to leave you with is be social on social media. It seems obvious, but something you can do if you don't have much time is get involved in the comments. Find out where your audience is. So if you make baking content, which a lot of you likely do, where is your audience? Are they following the local farmers market pages? Is there particular brands you think that your demographic follows? What do they wear? What restaurants do they go to? And get involved in those conversations. And I know it sounds kind of strange, but can you leave a comment that's fun and witty? Take a look at the comment sections of different videos and you'll see comments go viral. There's comments with hundreds of thousands of likes. So if you say something interesting, that could lead to someone clicking on your profile and something you can do for 5 minutes before bed or when you have some extra time in the car or something like that. So if you're not posting, make up for it by getting social and leaving comments where you believe your audience is. And that's the last point I'm going to leave you guys with. I really thank you guys for this opportunity. It's been awesome. If you have any additional questions that come up later, feel free to send me an email. And remember, don't worry about sales at the beginning. Make fun, creative content, and the sales will follow. Thank you guys so much.
So thank you, Dre. Martin, did you want to have a, a moment of insight today?
No, there's so much information. I have to digest it all and synthesize it. But it was very interesting, and thank you, Dre, for your time, and thanks, Tricia, for hosting this, and everybody that tuned in. I hope you got a lot out of it. Let us know.
So thank you, Dre, very much. I'll be thinking of you in the next couple of weeks. Dre's getting married, everyone.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
Anyway, thanks to all of you that joined us today. And I love the questions. It was wonderful. So we will be doing a few edits, adding our baking materials at the beginning and end with regard to logos and putting it on a YouTube channel and get it out to those of you that are members. So we want to thank Dre. And then our next Proofpoint webinar is going to be Thursday, June 25th. And Ardent Mills is going to be our sponsor, and we're going to be sharing some insightful GLP-1 market research on what are people really doing and what's happening and how it will impact the baking industry, and some innovative products you can use as a result of Ardent Mills research. So look forward to seeing all you guys in 4 weeks, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
Take care.